Hi, welcome back. I've done a video in which I described all the worst books of 2023. Now it's time for the best books. That was not the right move to do of 2023. This year was the year that I read like the least amount of 1 stars in a long time, but also the least amount of 5 stars. And that's because I reread a lot of stuff that I really liked. So I'm not going to talk about the rereads, even though I would love to talk about Have an Official Blessing all day long, because I reread up to volume 5. But I'm going to talk about the new books that I've read this year that really stuck with me. Even though I actually don't have like a new favorite book of all time, it's not going to happen every year, but some years, you know, you get a Have an Official Blessing, you know. Let's start with the one on top of the pile, because I have it here. And let's start with the bang. Love Theoretically by Hazelwood. You know, I'm a STEM girly, even though I'm a non-binary person. But you know, I consider myself a STEM girly. I am the E in STEM. I'm an engineer major, and I love how Hazelwood infuses her books with math and physics, and it's all very accessible, and the romance is so well done. The banter between these two people, unmatched. The story is about our protagonist, called Elsie Hanaway, is a theoretical physicist, and on the side she runs a fake dating business. So she's fake dating this guy who is actually like not really into anyone, and his brother, who is a very famous physicist who's modeled after a person who in real life wrote a paper to discredit every other type of physicist out there, and it was published and it was a hoax, and it was such, you know, a whole big deal. And this brother, it's called Jack Smith, boring name for an awesome man, is very suspicious of Elsie because, you know, she's fake dating his brother and nobody knows. So they get into a little bit of a feud. The sheer sparks that you have between these two is probably unmatched. Hazelwood knows how to write a very good constructed romance. I believe in this too, even though it was a silly book. I love this woman's books. She's also Italian, so, you know, points for that. Compaesana. Una Compaesana. Other book on the pile. For this one, I have an entire vlog, because this book destroyed me. Young Mongo by Douglas Stewart is probably the book that made me cry the hardest out of all the books that I've ever read. Even A Little Life. Yeah. We're in Glasgow in the 90s when Protestants and Catholics were at each other's throats. They kill each other almost every day, and in every city, especially Glasgow, which was like a failing city for the infrastructure and industry part. And we follow young Mongo in the past, where he meets this one guy that he falls in love with. He realizes he's gay. He is a very naive young boy. He has a very violent brother, a sister who has all of the problems of being a young girl in the 90s in Glasgow, and an alcoholic mother. So yeah, the picture is bleak. And then we are in the future where young Mongo is going on a trip in the mountains with 2 other very, you know, older men who are from the Alcoholic Anonymous group that his mother, like Mongo's mother, goes to, and they're very suspicious. For this book, I encourage you to read the trigger warnings if you're not like triggered by anything, because it's graphic and violent and incredibly realistic, and that's what I think hit me so hard. Like, I had tears dripping down my face the entirety of the last part of the book. Snot. I could not read the words. It was incredibly painful. I would not reread this book, but it was beautiful. It was incredibly written, realistic, such a tender portrait of what it was like back then, growing up, gay, naive, young, still full of hope in the bleakest of situations. I loved it. I am possibly the last person on earth to read this book, but I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. It's probably my favorite thing she's ever written. Even Heartstopper, I think, is on par with this. I really like this book. This book talks about fandom, especially like music, boy band fandom. So we have, on one hand, a young girl, she's Muslim. She's meeting her online friends for the first time, and they have to go to this concert for the boy band, The Ark. There's like speculations of two of the members being gay for each other and all that. And on the other hand, you have the member of the arc who the speculations are about, and how he's having like a really huge crisis because they are in the midst of changing their contract. They're going to become like the biggest boy band even in America, and he's having doubts about his sexuality, identity, future, etc, etc. I think I like this so much because I'm really into fandom, but in the like nice part of fandom. Ellis is really charitable when she talks about fandom, because they're awesome spaces. They're dangerous but awesome spaces, and there's the good and the bad. And usually books that talk about fandom, they only highlight the bad, and I don't like that, because there's such good things that come out of fandom, like camaraderie, friendship, genuine love for something. And there's also like the dangerous parts, like, you know, scams and stuff. So I really like this book. I think it was fun, it was queer, it was about friendship more than love, and I really liked it. Now, for the most surprising book of the year. You saw me reading this series in the awful fan translation, but I got a copy of the first volume. This is The Husky and His White Cat Shizun by Meatball. She calls herself Meatball on Twitter, so I'm going to call her Meatball. Chinese web novel. This is the first like new Chinese web novel that is not Moshang related that I've read. Very good, very good. Not Heaven Official Blessing levels, but still really good. I took a month out of my life to read the entire series. Like, I every day only read this book. It's like 2,000 pages, very long series, but I loved it. So the premise is this tyrant in ancient China realizes that he has killed everything that he loves and everyone, especially the person that he truly loved the most was killed in an accident, and he blames his master. So he's like, well, everybody who I've ever known has died, so might as well die myself. So he just poisons and dies. And he's like, well, I don't believe in the cycle of reincarnation for me, because I have done pretty fucked up stuff. But he gets reincarnated into his 16-year-old self. And so he gets to do it all again, but there are people who are hunting him down from his other like dimension past. It's incredibly good. Very graphic, very violent, and the trigger warnings again for this one are heavy because this is a very adult series. It's long, it's torturous, the slowest of burns. There's also like some pacing issues. I think some parts were boring, but the good stuff was so good that I had to give it 5 stars. I think about Chuaning daily because his character was so good. So sad, but so good. Another book for which I have a vlog. I'm so glad I vlogged my experience, especially for the last part of Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. I've waited 8 to 10 years for this book, and it was so worth it. This is like the 6th book, I think, in the Red Rising saga. There are the first trilogy, which is like complete, and then you can go on to read about Darrow, the protagonist, in his 40s. He is now dealing with the consequences of the revolution that he has done. Like, of course, he has the control of Mars, but all the other planets, not so much. And finally, in Lightbringer, we see like the hope shining through, because Dark Age was dark and bleak. Lightbringer, truly the Lightbringer, even though Pierce Brown, fuck you so much for killing off my favorite character of all time. I fucking despise you and I love you, because that was a very cool and epic death. I'm not that mad about it. I knew that it was coming, but still I sobbed my way through the last 100 pages because it was like, oh my god. It was also gayer, a lot gayer, which made the book a lot better, and I really liked it. I'm hopeful for Red God because this was very good. Red God is going to be the last book, and he has already written it. So I'm waiting, Pierce Brown, I'm waiting. All the books that I don't have in physical form, either because they're not in this house, but they're somewhere, or because I read like the audiobook or the ebook. The first book that I truly started and finished this year. It's The Darkness Outside Us. I know, I cannot shut up about this book. This is a contender for one of my favorite books of all time. It's not up there, but it's close. It's a sci-fi book, it's a survivalist book. Two very young men get put on a spaceship and they have to collaborate to go to one of the planets on a rescue mission. So they don't know each other. They are from rivaling countries. We are in the future. And they discover soon that the AI of the ship is not truly working for them nor with them, and that their mission is very unclear to them because they cannot remember going onto the ship and, you know, launching into space. So something is going on. Beautiful. Beautiful romance, beautiful story, beautiful sci-fi, like such good sci-fi. The ending. Sobbing my way through, both sad and happy tears. So this one like wrecked me completely. Somebody had told me that this was like a romantic comedy into space. You haven't read the book, my guy. This is such a sad yet adrenalinic and wonderful book. It's queer, yeah, there's a romance, yeah, but it's not that. And I give it 5 whole stars. Then I have, again, one of the easiest 5 stars of the year. I have Happy Place by Emily Henry. Chef's kiss. Emily Henry does it again. A book that, yeah, has like a light, fun plot. These 2 people have broken up and they haven't told their core group of friends, and now they have to go on a holiday, like the last holiday on this cabin together, all together, and they have to pretend to still be together. It's also a really sad and melancholic book, but really hopeful about friendship and growing up with people that are kind of separating spatially. So they are all in different towns and they all have different past and futures, and how to maintain that friendship. Heartwarming, beautiful, beautiful writing. I think this is the best book she's ever written, like writing wise, and also the romance was still, you know, steamy, and they were so compatible and I loved them together. I also understood why they had broken up, because you go back and forth, like college days where they meet and then they broke up, and then right now. Wonderful. I love it. I cannot wait for the next book. And then I have another little sci-fi book, another Chinese web novel called Little Mushroom by hiii. This is a post-apocalyptic book, which I haven't read in years. So we are on Earth in the future. Somehow the magnetic field of the Earth has like broken down. So for a period of time, the Earth was invested with radiation. So plants, animals, they have all mutated, and it's a type of mutation that is contagious. So humans that have gotten the magnetic field like artificially back up are situated in like sparse town around the Earth. And the story follows a little mushroom who gets to mutate into a human body, and he wants to live the human experience, but also there's someone who has stolen his spore, which he regards as his child, and he wants to go to the human base to find it. And there's also like a romance subplot, very, very sweet, also very adrenalinic. It's a post-apocalyptic book, like people are going to die and it's violent and adrenalinic, and I loved it. It's a very, very cool post-apocalyptic book, also queer, so, you know, and about fungi, well, you know, a fungus, a little mushroom. I'm going to briefly talk about a novella, because you don't really usually give 5 stars to novellas, but The Unwanted Guest by Thompson Moore, on my knees for Palamedes Sextus. That is all I'm going to say. If you know, you know. Another really weird queer book that I've read, it's a memoir that I did not know that it was a memoir. I'm Not Myself These Days by Josh Kimmel Purcell. This is a memoir about his days as a drag queen in New York in the like late 90s, early 2000s. Very problematic, the things that he says about, you know, the queer culture, but it was like a picture. That's how they talked. That's how they acted, that's what they did in drag shows. And it's also like a recountance of his falling in love with an escort who has a cocaine addiction, and it's a very hard-hitting book, also hilarious. Josh Kimmel Purcell, a comedian. I really liked it. It's a very, like, it's an historical book at this point, like an historical picture of the queer culture of New York at that time. Very interesting. Last 5 stars that I'm going to talk about is of course Homestuck. Because you know, I read Homestuck in the year of our Lord 2023 for the first time with no spoilers. Took me a month, again. I'm not going to talk about it in detail because it's unexplainable, but I really liked it and I hated it and I loved it. For the portion of the video of my most anticipated releases for 2024, there are some great books coming out in 2024. Honorable mention for the ones that don't have a cover yet. I liked it, the Nymph. Tell me some more. This is the last book in the series. Don't let me down, please. I want to understand something about your series, please. And then Hazelwood is going to publish 2 books next year. What? She's going to publish Bride, which is her first fantasy book. I think there's a werewolf involved. And then Not in Love, which I know nothing about, but it's Hazelwood, and I want it. I just want it. I just need it like yesterday. And then I have a little strange book that was compared to a House Moving Castle, and I am on the hunt for a House Moving Castle dupe because that book unmatched, one of my favorites of all time, and it's called A Fragile Enchantment by Ellis and SFT. Again, I think it's a Regency fair romance, but with beautiful picturesque writing and like a bit of an ironic twist. And this is what the people told me because I know nothing about this book. Again, I want to go into it blind, but look at the cover. Look at the cover. Does it not scream like one of those sceneries in House Moving Castle? Yeah. Of course, then I have another last book in the series. It's The Atlas Complex by L.V. Blake. The Atlas 6 was one of my favorite books of last year. I really liked it, against all odds, because I was prepared to really fucking hate it. And then the second book, I liked it. It was not my favorite, but I really liked it nonetheless. The first one was 5 stars, the second one a 4.5. This is the last one. This is the last one. I need everybody to kiss each other, at least once. And of course, The Prisoner's Throne by Ollie Black. It's the second book in her Stolen Air. I think it's a duology. Is it? I don't know. I liked The Stolen Air. It was okay. I think the plot was really rushed. I think the book should have been twice the length to explain everything that has been put in that book, but it was okay. It was okay. A little bit insta-lovey, but okay. And I'm curious to read the next one because I think there's room for improvement. Oh, okay, this one I can justify. Here We Go Again by Alison Cochrane. 1, it has the title of one of my favorite James Blunt songs, Here We Go Again. It is a road trip, it's sapphic. I again know nothing about the plot, but it trusts Alison Cochrane. She's the author of the Charm Offensive and Kisser Went For Me, which I recently read and it was really good. So I'm in for a sapphic rom-com on the road. This one I'm not sure. But The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I recently read the Hellbent Ninth House, 2 books that are out in that series of Alex Stern, and I like them. The Familiar, everybody that has already read it like an early copy told me that this is the best Leigh Bardugo book of all time, and I want to believe it. Everybody has been loving it, and I want to believe it. This one is strange. Okay, so Earthloan by Frances Wren and M. Litterus. Another sci-fi book. We are in London in the future where the sea level has risen to an alarming level, and there are 2 twins, and they are caught in like a subterfuge plot, but also in a romantic plot that is interwoven with the sci-fi aspect. And 1, look at that cover. 2, twins and queer and a post-apocalyptic book set in London. I'm sorry, mine right now. Like, give it to me, like right now, please. It sounds amazing. I just want it. Funny story by Emily Henry. Do I know a single thing about the plot of this book? No. Did I love every single Emily Henry book in existence? Her new ones, yeah. I haven't read her backlog, but yeah, I want it. Yeah. And look at the ever. I think it's going to be a little bit more literary fiction, just like Happy Place was, because I think she really likes those. She likes like a literary fiction, women's fiction novel, and with a big portion of it being a romance book. I hope that it's going to be this one. The last most anticipated release is Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan. Kevin Kwan is the author of the Crazy Rich Asians series, one of my favorite series of all time. I reread that series once a year. I reread it this year, and it was a blast. And Lies and Weddings, everybody who got an early copy says that it's amazing and on par with Crazy Rich Asians, and I'm hopeful. He has a very distinct writing style. This, I think, is going to be the last video of 2023. I wanted to do like a recollection and a reminiscence of this year on YouTube, but honestly, this year was pretty bleak for me, and I want to talk about the positive. And the positives are my most anticipated releases and the good books that I've read this year. So this is going to be the last video. I've talked about for like half an hour, so I hope you enjoyed. If you like this video, please comment something, like, subscribe, do the YouTube thing. And if you want to connect with me, I have some socials there down below, and I'll see you in 2024. Goodbye. Bye. Mwah!